Hey, it's Chuck. We are not bemoaning the noon kickoff. We are now owning it. It's a badge of honor. We're the lunatic fringe that defines our coach's legacy when it comes to this game. They don't get to define that outside the family. We're cut from a different cloth for Ohioans. He's got it all, man. He's even got the jaw. You know the jaw. You see that jaw and you're just like, yeah, man, that's a dude. Do I want Michigan to beat Oklahoma? No way in hell. I don't know what world I'm living in. This is insane to me. And if you saw my outburst, I apologize. It's showtime now. Sometimes I just got to riff, man. And I got to riff about Ohio State football right now because I don't feel the buzz like I feel there should be. And I want to talk about a few things. And I want to talk about Ryan Day and my expectations after 2 games, how they've changed. And I'd like to know about yours because I talk to a lot of Ohio State fans 5 days a week. I am, doing this. I'm reading all my comments. I don't think that I'm an optimist or a pessimist. I think I'm real, but I think everybody thinks they're real. Sometimes the excitement gets the best of me, but my opinions on this team have changed. And I spend my days talking to everybody all day long, nonstop, Twitter, read all my comments. And there were a lot of Ohio State fans this year who felt like Ohio State was going to fall back. They felt like this was going to be a 9-3 type of season. And what was even more puzzling is so many of them felt okay with that. I saw so many comments leading into this year, unlike last year. I feel like it's a fallback season. It's kind of a reboot season, and that's okay. 2026 will be a better year. And I blame Dave Biddle. I blame Dave Biddle for basking and everybody basking and getting complacent and fat and happy like the 2015 Buckeyes. So I want to know now through 2 games, now that you've seen Julian Sayin and you've seen Matt Patricia in particular, man, that defense, we've seen a little bit of how they want to run it, and it's very, very different. We've seen them play an opponent of equal talent, which is rare in 2 games in. I think we can learn quite a bit from those 2 games. We've seen the offensive line against one of the best defensive lines they will face all year. And most importantly, we've seen Julian. We've seen him execute 2 very different game plans, just about as good as he could have. And if you were someone who thought maybe this was going to be the year that Ohio State was going to fall back, I want to know, do you still feel that way? Because there were a lot of you. How are those folks feeling now? My feelings have changed on this team. I thought Ohio State would be in the mix this year at some point for a semifinal spot, maybe get to the national championship. These playoffs are much different now. It's a grind. And I don't know that we're always going to see the best team win anymore, right? Like the Super Bowl. You don't always see the best team. College football, we used to always see usually the best team win. I think the best team won last year. Like Ohio State was the best team. Do we see that every year? It's going to be a lot of attrition. And I just didn't think Ohio State was going to be that caliber of team this year. But so far, based off of what we've seen, it feels to me like what we're looking at is peak Alabama. That's what it feels like to me. It feels like when you would tune in to watch Alabama starting off a new year during their peak, knowing that they just brought in a bunch of new dudes and a new quarterback, and you go to watch them play, and I would just get deflated. I would get deflated because it just looked like they got bigger and faster and stronger. And most importantly, the hallmark of any national championship team, they all looked incredibly prepared, more than their opponent. And that is what these Buckeyes look like right now. That's what they looked like in game 1. Ohio State's entire offseason was to prepare for that Texas game. And we know that. And we know damn sure that that was Texas' entire offseason as well. They were the ones trying to get revenge. They're the ones trying to get there. Ohio State was better prepared. They looked better. They were faster. And that is championship DNA. Rolling over the roster and things look better. We've got to see everybody else this year as well. And like that, even more so, boosts my confidence here. Miami and Oregon are the 2 teams outside of Ohio State who've looked the best so far. You got other contenders like LSU, who beats Clemson. Then Clemson's losing to Troy by 16 points at halftime. LSU beats a tomato can by like 15 points. And I don't trust Brian Kelly to win a national championship. Penn State, you could say the same about James Franklin. and they haven't looked great. Looking around college football, you beat Texas, Alabama. They tweeted that Bama's still Bama after beating an FSC or FCS team like 77-0. But I usually enter the season, and there's a couple of teams that I look at with a little bit of fear. And when I don't look around and have a little bit of fear, that's because the Buckeyes are that team, which is exactly how I felt last year. Oregon and Georgia, two teams that I was concerned about the most last year. And Oregon, who like Texas and like Ohio State, will be better next year. Their roster going to get older next year. Got a lot of guys returning. Oregon, Texas, Ohio State, all next year are going to have better, more veteran rosters. And Oregon and Dan Lanning and them trying to get their revenge, that's right now the team I think that's the most concerning on Ohio State's hunt here to repeat. And I think that's going to become somewhat of a rivalry because they're just loaded. Like, they went and got 12 guys out of the transfer portal, same as Ohio State, same as Georgia, same as Texas. And that tells us that they didn't need a whole lot, despite losing as much as we all did. So they're right there with their roster. But I think my point is, I didn't think I would feel this way 2 weeks ago. I didn't think I would feel this great about this team, and I do, and it's awesome. And to be honest, I've recently come to the conclusion, and you could probably tell by the goofy grin on my face, man, I don't feel like at any point in my life you could take a picture and say today, right now, is the absolute best period of Ohio State football in my life. And I've been taking that picture since the Texas game. Right now, never in my life has the program been in better standing. Coming off a national championship, sitting as the number one program by mile. I feel like Ohio State, the definitive number one right now. Yeah, we've been in the same spot in 2015. We were sitting through 2 weeks being number one, sure. But it didn't feel like this. That team didn't feel like this. It got off to a herky-jerky start. This team feels different. It looks hungry. It looks polished. And for those of you who thought it was going to be a drop-back season, I understand where those folks were coming from. There's a ton of volatility when you're bringing in a new quarterback, and he could flop. Flops happen. We see it all over the place. But I do got to say, I don't remember anybody else feeling this way about a 5-star number one overall quarterback going back. And I was just sitting here thinking, all right, what was the vibe when TP came in? Well, Todd Beckman was the starter after USC. TP's about to come in. Like, we were all hyped. Justin Fields, we saw him a little bit at Georgia, very, very little bit. Everybody was hyped. CJ Stroud, there was maybe not a ton of excitement, but I don't remember anybody thinking that we were going to have a drop back season. Everybody was stunned about the Oregon loss. Braxton, hell no, super hype. When you get a quarterback with that superstar kind of ranking, generally everybody feels really confident when that dude's about to start that it is going to be the dude. But a lot of people have been doubting that he's actually the dude. I think it swayed a lot of people's opinions on this team beforehand. And I think that maybe his stature had a lot to do with it. I don't know what else it could be. The guy's film shows a total dude, but he comes in, obviously looks great in the first 2 games. And I'm trying to remove myself from the fact that Ohio State just won the national championship when I look at this team. And it's very hard to do. I tried to do it before. I kind of thought, look, if Ohio State lost last year in the semifinals, why don't I look at it like that? Let's say they lost to Texas in the semifinals last year. How would I look at this team now? That's kind of the exercise I was doing heading into the year because it was skewing my view that they had just won a championship. I can't do it. It's impossible. I don't know how it affects me, but it definitely affects the way I view it. And I just wasn't positive how good Julian was going to be. And of course, we still aren't. But right now, it looks really, really good. And what looks the best is it looks like there is ice running through his veins. Prepared, calm, decisive. These are all the things that first-time quarterbacks struggle with. This is where they get into trouble. And I'm excited to see him get put into that position. I hope that we get to see it Saturday. I want to see him get hit. I want to see him get some pressure and see how he bounces back. because it feels to me like everything else is in place. If Julian can be the dude, championship DNA running through the program, and these guys are hungry, and that's clear. Hungrier than they were in 2015, trying to repeat. But again, I was trying to remove myself from that mentality. But they did win the national championship last year. It's really tough to do. I don't know what it adds internally. We've talked ad nauseum about they wanted them to remove the signs. They didn't do that. Yeah, you hear that, but a lot of that, whatever, that's talk. But when you look at this team, it really does feel like a really, really hungry team early on. Much different than it felt early on in 2015 to me. And I'll tell you one thing. Hartline and Patricia didn't concern me a bit because Ryan Day, I think, has been the best hiring coach in the country for a couple of years now. When we look at him consecutively now, in my opinion, like last year, he had the best coaching staff in the country. He lost both of his coordinators. You could probably make that argument right now at this point in the season. He's got it again. After switching 2 coordinators and an offensive line coach, that's nuts. If Patricia and Hartline are both very good, I mean, we need to just take a step back and realize how rare this is, that a coach has to replace both coordinators and hit on both. Again, it just brings me back to Saban. Nobody else was doing stuff like that since him. Like, nobody's done this. And it looks like Ryan Day is doing it right now. And we can go down the list on the upgrades, right? Cornerback, yep. Safety, running back, tight end, offensive line, the jury's out, linebacker, certainly. He's upgraded every position. Like, he's just hitting. We've never seen anything like it. We don't even have a whipping boy on this staff, right? Like, there's always a whipping boy. There's always a coach on the staff that Buckeye fans take that mentality, and like when anything goes wrong, it's all, swords pointed at the whipping boy, right? We all know who it was last year. I guess you could say Larry Johnson is the closest thing that I've seen to that. We'll talk about Larry at the end of the show. There's something bothering me. But it's incredibly rare that there's not like one guy. Last night, the players held their now annual big vigil on campus where a bunch of players got baptized. And look, I don't care what you think about religion. Like, this is a good thing. It's a positive thing when you see players connecting on a different level like that. Like, that's unique. And I was wondering if that was going to continue when G and Trey left. And apparently it has, man. This is just a thing in the culture of the program. And the culture of the program is maybe the best part about it. They never get in trouble. They attract the best of the best people and families. It's just a picture perfect program in college football right now. And it's never been better. And Ryan Day, a head coach in college football through the most tumultuous time of our lives in college football. And he's orchestrated it as good or better than anybody else. I doubt there's too many coaches around actually at their job still that were there pre-NIL and transfer portal. We should probably go back and figure that out. But when it comes to all the different strategies and ways that these programs have had to adapt and do this, Ohio State's right at the top. And it takes a lot to be a guy and change your operation so much. And they've done it seamlessly. Oregon's done it well. Georgia's done it well. Georgia's got a tremendous advantage with talent in their backyard. Oregon's got a tremendous money advantage. Sark kind of came to Texas right at the beginning of it all. They obviously got a talent and money advantage. Ohio State has done it better than anybody when you consider the circumstances, really. Much to Ryan, Mark Pantoni, and his crew. Like, they've just been fantastic. And I think it's pretty damn great. It really is. So Ryan Day, when he was hired, I wanted a national coaching search. And I think that his hiring has actually changed my perspective on that moving forward. Like, at the time, I thought Ryan Day should be a candidate, but I also thought Matt Campbell should. Now, that looked really bad a couple years ago when I admitted that. It's looking better now. But it's like the best guy out there should be in there interviewing for the job, right? This is Ohio State. You shouldn't just be passing this off to a guy without doing a proper coaching search. That's how I felt about it. Now, If you told him he was a candidate, he'd been thrilled. He wasn't going anywhere. But they didn't even open it up. They didn't even open it up because they wanted him to know, like, right off the rip, you're the dude. Why? Because Urban said this is the guy. He said this is the guy. And it's no surprise that Urban wanted that to be his guy, right? He wanted him to follow on and carry on what he had built. New coaches come in and they rip everything out and install their new stuff. And Urban wanted to keep Ohio State the way he shaped it. It won a national championship. And Gene Smith was all in for it. So Ryan Day gets the job. That was 14 years ago, Urban took over this program. In the amount of stability at Ohio State, all the way back from the start of Tress, but there's a separation line there because I think Urban changed a lot. But Urban and Ryan, there's a lot of crossover here. It's a lot of the same things. I mean, they do things differently, but for the first 3 or 4 years, it kind of felt like chapter 2 of Urban Meyer's, tenure. It just felt very much Urban, and it's still a lot of Urban in it, right? You got Pantoni there, you got Mick there. They're like his 2 cornerstones of his program. They're still there. So there's a lot to the culture of Ohio State, and Ryan Day, like his predecessors, has just added on. And I don't know how much higher it can go, but the state of the program right now, strongest it's ever been. And as we look forward to when it comes to, like, all right, whenever he eventually decides to leave, I feel like I want to keep the hiring in the family. Like, this has worked out tremendously. I don't want Brian Kelly coming in and, like, talking about Billy Napier this week. He was talking about, it takes time. He's got to reshape the program in his image. I'm like, this dude's on year 4. Could you imagine dealing with this? Could you imagine? And then you get it wrong and you start all over again. We saw it at Tennessee for 20 years. Like, imagine if Alabama, how much better off would they have been if Saban had somebody on that staff that they felt comfortable turning over the program to? And he had plenty of guys throughout his tenure, just apparently nobody on the staff before he left. But Ryan Day has totally changed my perspective on this. Whereas I would never have really wanted the in-house guy. I'd have wanted the big flashy hire or some dude from Ohio who was out here doing well and coaching in some area, NFL, whatever. That's where I always would have deferred. And it's been so unique to be so stable throughout this era, and that we have seen every coach from John Cooper to Tressel to Urban to now Day raise the program, pass off a better program than they received. It's really unique, man. So I'm all on this hype train. This team, I think, is better than 24 right now. And I think if Julian continues to grow like he has, like, this is a program with championship DNA, and we're on the precipice of something really special here. I really think that this could be something really unique. The defense, it looks nastier. It looks faster. It looks meaner. It looks more confusing. It just looks better. You got dominant players at all 3 levels and an accomplice, right? Like, you got a superstar at all 3 levels. Cade McDonald is now a superstar. This dude is going to be a first rounder. He's going to be a Tyleek. I can no doubt about it. And Edric Houston could eventually grow into that. Kenyatta could be a top 3 round pick, most likely will be. Arvell Reese probably playing himself into a first-ish round pick this year. Sonny, top 3 round pick. Caleb and Jermaine Matthews, both locks to be first rounders. IGB, top 3 rounder. Like, this defense is nasty and loaded. The offensive line did a pretty good job against Texas. They're only going to get better as they gel.